Hola bonito dia, I am Johan and welcome to Alma de Bahamut. This is the first video of a trilogy where I want to present my opinion and analysis of the many trade companies in the industry, and I'm going to start with Nintendo, as most gamers do. All the kids in the 90s were Nintendos or Segas, but today Nintendo kids still exist because it is a company with the image of being friendly to children, and certainly it is. It is the parents' choice par excellence when buying the first console for their children. No one wants their children to be exposed to sex and violence, and that's something you can trust to Nintendo, because it is a company extremely faithful to its principles and values. Unlike many others that use sex and violence to increase their sales, Nintendo has always remained firm and loyal to its convictions, proving that it is possible to make great quality games without losing its family approach. It is worth admiring because most people and companies put a price on their principles, but Nintendo does not. Most succumb to public pressure, to market demand, but Nintendo does not. Nintendo doesn't deliver the games or consoles we the fans want. Nintendo lives by its own rules, it is totally independent, but most important, brave. Nintendo is not afraid to confront the paradigms of the industry to deliver something new and revolutionary. Always intending to innovate and surprise, but through quality, design and creativity, whereas others usually do it through power. Of course, enormous mistakes have occurred, but it's part of its creative process. I would even dare to say that Nintendo needed. Unlike PlayStation, who has never fallen, for now, Nintendo frequently does. While it is down, Nintendo reflects on itself, and that is when it comes with an idea that will revolutionize the entire industry. And then it rises with great strength and determination, and later it falls again, and the cycle goes on and on. That's how the Wii was born. After the commercial failure of the GameCube, Nintendo meditated, reflected about its own flaws, and accepted that it couldn't compete directly with Sony. Nintendo realized that when Nintendo kids grow up, they become PlayStation teenagers, or maybe Xbox, because they are more attracted to more realistic, violent, and sexual games. Nintendo could have done the same as everyone else, do what the market demanded, launch a console exactly like the 360 and PS3, and with the same library. But before turning its back on its ideals, Nintendo preferred to get out of the race and create its own market. Jumping into the unknown was a tough and very brave decision. Today everyone praises the Switch, good reason, but criticizes the Wii U unfairly, I might add, because they don't see the big picture and don't realize that without the failure of the Wii U, the development of the Switch would have never happened. Nintendo fully understands the duality of the universe, positive and negative cycles. Most companies run away from negative cycles. Most people do. Nintendo doesn't run away from them because it knows very well that negative cycles are fundamental for the creation of something new. That's why Nintendo is synonymous with revolution. Microsoft is experiencing something similar with Game Pass, and that's why Sony has not offered anything revolutionary, because it has never fallen. But I'll talk about them another day. If I had to guess the industry outlook 15 years from now, I would bet on a Nintendo alive and kicking, and innovating to be sure. And with more failures in its history, I wouldn't be surprised if the Switch successor was regarded as a crazy idea and ended up being a commercial failure. We all want the Switch 2 to be a simply more powerful Switch, 4K 120 frames, more battery life, and capable of running all AAA games. But remember, Nintendo doesn't do whatever we want. I personally would like it to stay on this path because I think the Switch found the perfect place for the Japanese company. It is a hybrid which makes it unique in the market until the Steam Deck comes out. It's the only place where we can play Mario and Zelda, and despite it doesn't run more AAA games, for some strange reason it's the best place to play all the indies. The Wii's problem was the lack of the games, but with the growth of the indie industry, the Switch doesn't suffer from it. So far I've only talked about consoles. What about games? I won't say anything new that gamers don't already know. Not all of their games, but many of them have been a watershed in the industry. Super Mario Bros. Rescued an entire industry that was dying. Super Mario 64 taught all developers how to move in 3D. Ocarina of Time laid the basis of adventure games and the foundations of open worlds. and Breath of the Wild reshaped open world games and showed us that GTA was just another linear game with an open map. Its development philosophy is also admirable, philosophy made famous by former president Satoru Iwata. Nintendo is self-aware enough to remake a game that doesn't meet its quality standards, and has the patience necessary to carry it out. That's why we're still waiting for Metroid Prime 4. Nintendo is not only innovative and intelligent in terms of console development and gameplay, but also in concepts. Nintendo had a big idea for the reboot even when the world did not exist. Every Super Mario and Zelda game is a reboot of the franchise, and it had been doing it since the 80s, which was a brilliant idea because it gave total freedom to the creativity of the developers. And what can I say about Mario? The most versatile character ever designed in the industry. Can you imagine Kratos driving a car, or Master Chief playing golf? Ridiculous. However, Mario can do it all. So far it seems that I am in love with Nintendo. I am not, but I do respect it. Of course there are elements that I do not like, but El Alma de Bahamut is not a place to complain. There are so many channels that already do that. I'm just gonna say that I don't like its fixation with motion controls. That's why I play more PC and PlayStation. I also don't like the prices, but instead of complaining, I simply don't buy them. And once again, that's why I play more PC and PlayStation. The truth is that I buy these consoles only for a few exclusive games, and although my wallet would like those games to be available on PC, as a gamer it excites me to buy a system just to play that game. As long as Zelda and Mario Kart exist, I will stay with Nintendo. In conclusion, I think Nintendo is an example to be followed. It has its dark side, but there is a valuable lesson in its bright one. Nintendo teaches us that you can succeed without having to sell your principles. You won't be the richest on the market, but you'll stay loyal to yourself. To be always flowing, fearless of changing, and that each fall can be the impetus for the next rise. Subscribe so you don't miss my glorious and profound analysis of PlayStation and Xbox, who intends to buy the whole industry. Thank you very much for your time.